land, they're carried on with a champion named Yang, who prepared with the miserable woodwind. A clone since he was a youngster to turn into the best fighter ever. He accomplished this accomplishment by overcoming the head of the foe faction and every one of his champions, but when he tracked down the pioneer's child young lady, he was unable to force himself to kill her as well. Tragically, this activity made him a foe of his own faction, on the grounds that no family could genuinely win except if each and every individual from the adversary group was dead, also, that incorporated the child. With the miserable woodwind pursuing him and not having the option to trust even his own servant, Yang chooses to torch his home and take a boat to the USA, where he would find his close buddy and previous hero Smiley to request safe haven for himself and the child. Tragically, when Yang comes to the modest community of Jackpot, there is terrible news hanging tight for him. Smiley passed on 3 years prior. In the meantime, in Yang's old home, his lord Saddest Woodwind tracks down the vestiges of Yang's home. What's more, a note from the delivery organization Yang recruited. Choosing to follow him to America, Saddest Woodwind assembles a major gathering of his faction's fighters to accompany him. Back to Yang, the residents are careful of him, particularly the neighborhood inebriated Ron, yet bizarre company part 8 Ball is great and takes him to Smiley's old clothing shop so Yang can remain there with the child, assuming he needs. Later at night, a lady named Lynne assaults Yang from behind with a stick and he gives her him access request not to uncover his genuine personality. Lynne apologizes prior to making sense of that she used to be companions with Smiley. Furthermore, she thought Yang might have been a fighter foe of Smiley. Seeing as Yang is a companion of Smiley as well and needs assistance to begin once again, Lynne chooses to show him how to do the clothing for him to assume control over the shop. She has a thought of how everything used to function since she used to help Smiley in return for him showing him how to utilize a blade. Additionally, since Yang never got the child's, Lynne chooses to call her April. Yang cleans the shop to dispose of years-old residue and the following morning, he's open and prepared for business. A triplet of teens attempts to menace him when they bring some garments over, yet fortunately 8 Ball appears and frightens them off prior to welcoming Yang also, April, for lunch at the carnival. The company is busy structure a Ferris wheel, trusting that will carry more vacationers to their little town. Yang sees Lynne is rehearsing blade tossing and she's terrible at it, which sets her feeling awful. Ron keeps on whining about Yang's presence around, yet the remainder of the company is amusing to spend time with. At night, outside and welcomes him in so they can pay attention to the show music together. This is the principal thing Yang figures out how to do as a typical individual, and the rundown simply develops from that point. The more days pass, the more Yang partakes in his new life around and the most straightforward delights of life, similar to the delight of making things clean, making companions and spending time with them, functioning collectively with the townsfolk, messing around and feeling what it's prefer to lose at something, discovering a real sense of reconciliation in private following some serious time work, watching the nightfall, and beginning his own nursery. This last one is Yang's most loved on the grounds that it permits him to carry life to this world as opposed to finishing it. One evening, Yang sees Lynne visiting the graveyard and gets some information about her past. Quite a while back, the town went under attack by a bad colonel, who maintained that a young lady should have a great time with and picked young Lynne. He took her through the closest entryway for some protection and they wound up in a kitchen, which allowed Lynne the opportunity to guard herself by tossing a dish of bubbling oil at his face. Lynne run out of the structure and the colonel shot her, so her folks along with her kin attempted to come to get her body, however the colonel shot them as well. Later the colonel was gone. When the residents were moving the bodies to cover them, they found that while the remainder of the family was dead, some way or another Lynne had made do. Later at night, Yang sees Lynne grumbling about her own point while tossing little shakes around for no particular reason. Understanding where her internal outrage comes from now, Yang chooses to help her and takes her to the bazaar to train her to point. He makes sense of her concern isn't her arms, however her concentration, and Yang blindfolds Lynne prior to making her toss blades at him, effectively landing them all without harming him. Lynne says thanks to him by calling him miserable woodwind, uncovering she's constantly known who he was on the grounds that of Smiley's accounts. She additionally takes the risk to inquire as to why the tribe is called that, and Yang makes sense of the miserable woodwind since when you slit the jugular, the last strong is a miserable woodwind. Then, Lynne asks him for what reason he joined the tribe in any case. Yang enlightens her regarding his dad, who worked in the field and passed on when a fighter killed him just to test his sword. Yang had been irate at his dad in those days, and that is the reason he concluded he needed to become more grounded than that. Seeing Yang is miserable now, Lynne gives him a neckband that used to have a place with her mom. This helps Yang to remember the main time in his life that he got a present. He was only a youngster in preparing. What's more, Saddest Woodwind gave him a charming little canine. A while later, Yang shows Lynne his single-edged blade, which has been fixed to its casing so he can't kill once more and no one will hear the sobbing of the spirits he's taken. Anyway, he likewise has 2 or 3 twin short blades, and he utilizes those to get Lynne's preparation where Smiley left it, which Ron sees as inquisitive. In the meantime, Sadist Woodwind and the group have assumed control over a boat forcibly, killing the whole team. The USA is a large nation, however Sadist Woodwind isn't concerned. He realizes he'll find Yang effectively when he surrenders and gets the sword once more. They simply have to tune in. Back in the area, Yang's new life go on as expected, managing the teens' tricks, cleaning local people's garments, dealing with the thriving garden, preparing Lynne, and helping April to make her most memorable strides. At the point when Christmas comes, the carnival group sets up a major party. Yang joins in yet won't move, and when Lynne asks him to take her for a twist, they return to preparing. Lynne at last figures out how to come to put her blade on Yang's neck and she takes the risk to kiss him, however Yang is excessively befuddled to respond. At that point, the colonel and his men show up in the area, allowing their ponies to step all around Yang's nursery. The colonel is wearing a veil now to cover the consumes Lynne left him. Furthermore, he intrudes on the Christmas celebration by tormenting the carnival company. His men utilize the comedian as target practice, and when Ron attempts to stop them, the colonel gets him with his whip around the neck. What's more, makes one of his men drag him through the sand while riding a pony. Then, the colonel shoots the jokester in the foot prior to concluding he needs a young lady for the evening. The townsfolk realize Lynne will need to get payback and accomplish something moronic, so they tie her up in a basement and Yang takes her blades. Be that as it may, she has a blade concealed in her boot, and after the men leave, Lynne liberates herself. While Yang contemplates whether he ought to take out his blade, the colonel assembles the nearby ladies and picks one that ends up being hitched. At the point when the spouse attempts to protect her, the colonel shoots them both, making their girls emerge from stowing away to weep for themselves, and the colonel winds up picking them, all things considered. He eats while the young ladies wash, however his dinner is interfered with by Lynne, who is spruced up as an artist and claims to elect to be the colonel's diversion for the evening. The townsfolk find Lynne has gotten away, and when Yang catches wind of this, he chooses now as the right time to break the mark of his blade. Sadist Woodwind hears the seal being broken and the crying of Yang's blade, so presently he knows in which bearing to direct his clansmen. Back to Lynne, she attempts to go after the colonel with her blade unsuspecting. It turns out he's known what her identity is starting from the start and is sitting tight for her with his firearm. With a shot at the roof, the colonel brings his men and makes them drag Lynne to the bed so he can at last get what he needs from her. In any case, they're interfered with by the unexpected appearance of Yang through the window. He effectively kills the other men and is going to kill the colonel as well, yet Lynne stops him since she guarantees the colonel is hers. Choosing to involve Lynne as a safeguard, the colonel gets her and pushes her with him through the window prior to taking off as he rejoins his other men. Lynne follows him in utilization her newly discovered concentration to toss her blade, successfully killing the colonel, or perhaps not. When the townsfolk draw nearer and remove the cover, it's uncovered the body has a place with an irregular person that was utilized as a fake, and the genuine colonel got to escape with his men. Yang goes to get his things in April, planning to leave town before he's found by Sadist Woodwind since he doesn't need them to be in harm's way. Anyway, 8-Ball calls attention to their now in peril on the grounds that the colonel will return for vengeance with significantly more men. Yang acknowledges to remain to help, yet the town people think he won't be sufficient. However, it doesn't stress 8-Ball, since he brings up they likewise have Ron. It turns out Ron used to be a bandit, and when he resigned, 8-Ball covered every one of his weapons in the burial ground, so presently it is the ideal time to recover them. While Ron tests his point and affirms is comparable to it, Lynne converses with Yang. She's as of now speculated that he'll leave when it's everywhere, and she believes that him should think about taking her with him in April when the opportunity arrives. With the weapons, Ron finds his old cowpoke garments and takes them to Yang for cleaning. While the remainder of the town utilizes the explosives to get ready snares, Ron and Yang bond over their pasts. Ron generally realized Yang was a perilous man since he could smell the blood, and Yang admits he's constantly had some significant awareness of Ron too due to a similar explanation. Both of them shake hands and Ron makes sense of he quit his very effective vocation as a stealing outlaw in light of the fact that the officers that were attempting to get him killed his significant other. Prior to passing on, Ron's significant other asked him not to get a firearm once more, and he's adhered to that commitment from that point forward. Today anyway it's a crisis, and 8-Ball had told Ron his significant other would have perceived. Ron exhorts Yang that assuming he genuinely cherishes somebody, he ought to avoid them, not to bring them torment. A while later, Yang gives Lynne her blades back and helps her to remember the best spots to wound an individual for a speedy demise, making her shudder with his delicate touch. The following day, One of the youngsters stows away with April in a basement while Yang holds up at the town's entry, and Ron positions himself on the Ferris wheel. At the point when the colonel and his soldiers show up, they ride ahead and trample the nursery once more, succumbing to the explosive the townsfolk had concealed there before. The blast kills a lot of them and makes a residue cloud that permits Yang to move inconspicuous as he kills a greater amount of the men. The colonel arranges his men to push forward and arrive at the bazaar, where the fair machines are unexpectedly enacted and make more blasts. Ron starts taking shots at them from on the Ferris wheel, and when the colonel's men start climbing the wheel to contact him, the carnival group makes an appearance to shoot them off. While Yang proceeds to move in the shadows to kill more men with his blade, Ron utilizes however many slugs as could be expected under the circumstances prior to sliding ceaselessly on a link. When he arrives at security, they make the Ferris wheel detonate, bringing everybody down. The carnival group emerges from their concealing spots, thinking they've won. In any case, the colonel and a portion of his men are as yet alive. Large numbers of the entertainers are killed. What's more, when the colonel's men are going to encompass them, the pursuit is interfered with by the abrupt spirit of Sadist Woodwind and his champions. Another battle begins among firearm and blade clients. Furthermore, Yang advises Lynne to run with April while he joins the fight. The two sides continue to lose men at a disturbing rate, particularly on the grounds that Yang kills rivals on the two sides. He pursues Lynne and April to safeguard them since the colonel's consideration is on them. However, when they find themselves encompassed, Lynne gives April to 8-ball for him to remove her while she makes a difference Yang. Whenever they've crushed the heroes around them, Yang and Lynne go to just find 8-ball to find the colonel killed him and removed April. The colonel stows away with April in an inn-room, leaving a lot of his men outside the entryway for insurance. After additional miserable woodwinds wind up dead while attempting to arrive at the child, Yang appears at the inn as well and rapidly kills every one of the guardians prior to going into the room. With a speedy development of his sword, Yang incapacitates the colonel and gets April returns, yet he doesn't kill him, passing on that an open door to Lynne, who makes an appearance too. Lynne. Furthermore, the colonel participate in a sword battle that starts with the colonel having the high ground. In any case, soon Lynne turns it around and kills the colonel with extraordinary fulfillment. Thereafter, it's the ideal opportunity for Yang to stand up to his old expert, who demands the need to kill April since she'll continuously be the adversary. Sadist Woodwind doesn't think Yang has the guts to kill him in fight in light of the fact that he's forever been delicate of heart. When he was a youngster, he experienced a ton of difficulty killing the canine when the expert arranged him to, and, surprisingly, as a grown-up, he was unable to try and kill a child. Nonetheless, Yang will effectively safeguard his friends and family and makes it a point to his lord, so Sadist Woodwind passes on communicating his pride. Presently it's everywhere. It's the ideal opportunity for Yang to leave. Recollecting Ron's recommendation, Yang not just chooses not to carry Lynne with him, however he additionally leaves April with the carnival group so she can have a daily existence away from risk. Months after the fact, Yang is living on a frozen land while selling the fish he gets. Sadly, he's found by a professional killer here as well. Accordingly, in the wake of killing the man, Yang recovers his sword and the jewelry Lynne had gifted him prior to torching his most recent house, including another drama record he had obtained. On out, he's seen as by more Sadist Woodwinds. Significance: there will continuously be some battling for him to do prior to seeing as another home. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to this channel to motivate me to bring more story like this.